Hello everybody, it's me again. I am here because I wanted to do a little follow-up to the last video that I made. So as you know, I just put out a video where I just said hello and talked about the old Sunplant vlogs a little bit and asked if anyone was still around from those days. And within a few hours, the video, while only having gotten 13 views, already had 5 comments, and they were all from people who were back in the day, viewers of mine, and I thought that was pretty cool that like almost everyone who saw that video was somebody actually from the old days who left a comment. And I thought as a little treat, I would not just type a response to the comments, I would actually make a video responding to everybody, because I felt it was very personal and very kind of everyone, of all 6 people now who have responded to me. So I am going to respond to you each. So I'm going to respond to everyone in turn, and I just want you to know that when I saw everybody's names here, these are actually all names that I recognize from the past. So you might remember me, but I also remember you, because if you have been around, if you've left comments, then that is very cool. We're going to go in the order that the comments were left, starting with Thunk up here. And I remember you because you were the guy who made SimCity 4 videos. Those are pretty cool. I remember those from back in the day. I thought it very cool that you remember this very specific detail from my vlogs, and I don't even remember where or when I said this, but you even got the city right, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I actually lived there for a period of 5 months, all the way back in 2008, before I did Bone Canoe 86. So I was only 22, and I had sort of a, you could call it a grass is greener philosophy, where I wanted to get away from where I was from and make a life somewhere else. It was a little misguided, but it was at least a good attempt, and it just so happened to coincide with the financial crash, the Great Recession, all happened while I was in those 5 months in Williamsport. So it was not really a great time to do that, but I couldn't have known right before it happened. Yeah, I do remember talking about this because there was a period of time about a decade ago where my parents were seriously considering moving to Florida, largely because my grandparents lived there at the time. Now, what ended up happening with that is the reverse happened. My parents actually convinced my grandparents to move up here to Pennsylvania in 2019, and they're still alive to this day. My grandfather is 91 years old, and my grandmother is 89, and they live in a assisted living facility here in Pennsylvania. So I think one of the main things that turned that around for my parents, my mom in particular, were that series of big hurricanes that they had down there in Florida in 2017. My dad actually flew down to Florida and drove my grandparents all the way up from Florida all the way to Pennsylvania over the course of 2 days. And keep in mind, those aren't even his parents. Those are my mom's parents, and it shows you kind of what kind of man he was to do that. I mean, he wasn't young himself at that time. I mean, 2017, if I do the math real quick in my head, he would have been 66 at the time, and yet he did that, drove all the way up from South Florida to Pennsylvania in 2 days with 2 very elderly people. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, school, loneliness, I feel there. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the people that connected with my vlogs sort of had this similar vibe, that sort of similar identification, you can say. Yeah, many people have commented this, that it seems like I found a sense of peace. And in many ways, I really have. And it's not because anything in my life got materially better. This is a point I want to stress. Peace comes from within. Peace doesn't come from gaining things in the world. It doesn't come from being richer. It doesn't come from being in a better place. It doesn't even necessarily come from being happier. All these things do help. They're all relevant. But to truly be at peace with yourself, it has to be a personal evolution that comes from inside. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've gained throughout my 30s. And that's what I want to try to share. So I think it's really awesome that you're married now, that you've been living on your own with your wife, I presume, in Asia. That's pretty cool. I have a cousin who has been in Japan for 12 years now, and he's also married, and he and his wife have a little kid, so that's pretty cool. If I had more money, I would go to Japan to visit them. Someday I will, because I don't think he'll ever leave, so there's not really a time limit on that trip. Yeah, that's a thing that I think all of us who are around our age are starting to experience, and if we aren't, we will soon. You know, our parents are all getting older, and they're going to need help, you know, and that's just life and age. You know, we'll be in the same position in 30 or 40 years, so, you know, hopefully we'll be good to our parents, and if we have kids, hopefully they'll be good to us, and if we don't have kids, God help us, I guess. That's really cool that we have sort of developed along similar lines in this respect, both becoming big walkers. I don't count steps. I'm not sure how much I walk on my walks, but 15,000 steps a day is a significant amount. And, I mean, the average man's stride is about at least 3 feet. So, I mean, if you want to do some quick back-of-the-napkin calculations, that's, 8 or 9 miles right there. So that's pretty cool. So that's like, once you get up to that, you're up to 16, 17 miles. That is seriously impressive. I think I've done that one time, and that was a hell of a walk. But yeah, it is very, very good to be walking. And no, I don't mind at all you talking about yourself, because one of the problems with vlogging in general, and my vlogs in specific, one of the reasons I kind of got rid of the older ones is because I kind of felt they were very self-indulgent of me, just to be like, oh, me kind of thing. And I much prefer this kind of thing. Like, I talk about myself, people respond talking about themselves and the ways that we relate to each other, and make it more of a conversation, so it's not so self-indulgent and egotistical on my part. So I really do appreciate these kind of things. And now we're going to scroll down to Windsor's comment here. Yeah, the All. I really enjoyed doing the All. And Bill Whittle, a conservative commentator, I still watch him sometimes, even though my political views have kind of evolved to the point where I sort of agree with him part of the time. But the thing about Bill Whittle is I sort of, in the same way that Thunk Up here said he vibed with me, I kind of just vibe with Bill. He and I are somewhat similar people in many ways. Doesn't mean we always see eye to eye, but we have a lot in common. Oh yeah, and the whole 9/11 thing. You want to know something? That video was actually removed by YouTube. Believe it or not, that's true. It was removed many years after the fact because I guess they don't want anyone talking about trutherism, even if it is to debunk it. And of course, the enforcement of that is like very spotty and such. And I was kind of pissed off when I found out that video was removed. But it's interesting that that made an impact on you, because this is something that I still feel is true. It's like the whole 9/11 thing feels like there might be something to it until you just give it just a moment of thought and realize how implausible that whole thing is, and how much would have to be done in order for that conspiracy to actually work, and how there would be so many easier ways to accomplish the same supposed goal that a so-called inside job would have done. And needless to say, thank you anyone who left me condolences for my dad. Alright, now we'll scroll down to Evan here. I actually am making videos again for Sudden Plant, and I'll talk about that a little bit at the end here. So I'm glad you're looking forward to that. Oh yes, the trucker story. That is a video I made in 2013 talking about the trucker experience from 2008. That was a video that definitely could have used some editing because it was very rambly and slow, but I'm still glad that you liked it. That was a turning point of my life. I mean, if I think of like the big things that happened in my adult, especially like post-college life, to this day, that's still like top 3 life-changing events. So, yeah, that's kind of cool that you remember that. And now on to Blue Wood, who says he found Sudden Plant before he found Bone Canoe 86, or at least refound the channel. And I think the name has a lot to do with that, because as memorable as Bone Canoe is, I think Sudden Plant is even more memorable. It's 2 words that don't really go together, like plant, sudden. It's like, put them together. No one, what does that mean? And the thing about that is, I don't know if I ever told the story of where the name Sudden Plant comes from, but a long time ago, there used to be this very small-time YouTuber called Chainfire 9001. His channel was only ever about as big as Bone Canoe was, and he used to play Mario hacks, and he was playing Super Mario World, and a piranha plant jumped up and, killed him, and he responded, "Oh, Sudden Plant to the face," or something along those lines. And I just really was tickled by Sudden Plant, because it was like 2 things that don't go together. So Sudden Plant became my YouTube name, which means, believe it or not, both Sudden Plant and Bone Canoe have indirect origins from Super Mario World, which is a connection I didn't make until very recently, because Bone Canoe was Sir Ron Lionheart's name that he used for that little skull raft that goes on the lava. If that video's still up, I'll put a clip of it up there.
We don't even need that. Bone Canoe.
So that's where Bone Canoe comes from. I'd show you Sudden Plant, but Chainfire deleted his channel like over 10 years ago. And now on to Terrace View. Yeah, politics is kind of shitty right now, and has been for a long time. And it's kind of funny because I was just talking about how I'm never going to talk about politics again. Spoiler alert, I already have 2 videos in the can where I go to parks and walk around. And at some point in both of the videos, I talk about, if not politics, sort of general big picture ideas that are sort of adjacent to politics or adjacent to philosophy. So things that might have been on the all back in the day. It's sort of like I went off on a tangent both times. So if you're interested in, my idiosyncratic and often esoteric opinions about things, it does come out a bit in these upcoming videos I'm about to release. But more on that after I read the rest of the comments. And here he is referring to the anniversary video I made on Bone Canoe back in April, where I was walking around the park. Interestingly enough, I returned to the same park in the first of my videos that I've recorded and have in the can, because I've decided to do a park visit series, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But yeah, you mentioned that I seem very happy. You're probably the second or third person who has mentioned that. And yeah, like I said, I have found a kind of peace. And especially when you see me out there walking in the park, you see me much more in my element. And just being out there in nature with the sunlight on my skin, the trees around me, the leaves, the grass, the greenery, the sounds of birds, of water, of the wind rustling in the trees, it's all very wonderful. And it's also incredibly activating, too. Like, it's stimulating, like mentally, just to be out there and to be navigating through these paths. So I've started to record more hiking vlogs. And finally, to 47 Planet Baxterian, If you don't remember, this guy is my longtime real-life friend. I was literally at his 16th birthday party. That's how far back we go. And he says, "Do you still have that piano?" And my question is, are you talking about this one? Or this one? Or even this one? God, it's dusty. Or maybe even this one. You say you remember me playing the intro to The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. That was on the Little Boy. Yeah, I'm extremely out of practice, but yeah, still, in principle, I know how to do that. She packed her bags last night, pre-flight. 0 hour, 9 a.m. I just realized I can make live ambient background music for my vlogs if I wanted to. Now, if I had my own place with my own private space to practice where I wasn't bothering anyone, I might try that. But I don't have that right now, so it's not likely going to happen anytime soon. And yeah, music is a personal thing. It might be the most personal thing. And I definitely did talk about it a bit back in the day, and maybe I will talk about it again at some point. And here he asked me about if I want to become a session musician. Well, I am very much out of practice, but anything's possible. Then again, getting into music at all is a bit of a fiasco. The music industry, whether you're at big or small levels, is very cutthroat, and it's very hard to have any success in there, even if you're really good. And a whole bunch of being in music is not actually about making or playing music. That's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize. It's a lot of networking, it's a lot of ass kicking, it's a lot of just the machinery of labels and promoters and all that kind of stuff. Managers, producers, trying to get gigs, trying to get this and trying to get that, and it's just a giant fiasco. If I do make music, it's going to be in my own way, and it's probably going to be this roundabout backwards way where I just sort of toil in obscurity on the internet where like 5 people listen to my song or something like that. That's the most likely thing that will happen with music. Yeah, and Let's Plays do take a lot of dedication and discipline, which is why over on Bone Canoe, you'll notice that the great majority of my Let's Plays did not reach a natural end. Of course, I picked games that either didn't have an ending, like The Sims or SimCity, or I picked games that were very long, like Civilization. And mentioning skipping stuff that you wanted to read, the thing about that is there's a lot of text in Civ, and as much as I enjoy a more laid-back pace of Let's Playing than a lot of these younger people out there who are just like bopping and zipping off in all directions, you still want to keep up a certain pace. And you don't want to pause to read every last thing that appears on the screen. But I do try to at least linger long enough that if somebody does want to read, they're able to hit the pause button and read it without being too inconvenienced. I always think that's a pretty good compromise. It's a pretty wise thing to say with, worrying about if these kind of things run in the family. But as far as I know it, Geoblastoma is just one of those random, unfortunate coincidences, and I don't think it really does run in the family. I mean, there are other cancers that do run in the family. The females of my family do have problems with uterine cancer. It's happened to several of them. But, I personally don't have to worry about that. But thank you, of course, for your thoughts and condolences. And thank you to everybody who said such things in the comments. It does mean a lot. It really does. So that's about all for the comments that people have left on that video, and I want to say thank you very much to all 6 of you who left comments, and maybe in the future I'll do more videos like this where I respond to comments in video form, although for the most part I intend to just, reply in the thread as one does. But I thought that was a good personal touch to people who have been around for a very long time and wanted to come back to respond to my comeback video. Now, talking about the videos that I have planned. As of the time of recording this, I have already recorded 2 hiking vlogs. One at Washington's Crossing State Park in both Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and the other in Tyler State Park in Newtown, Pennsylvania. So those videos will be coming out soon, and as I mentioned before, I go on a journey in these videos, not just a journey of walking to a physical locations, but a journey of the mind, you could say, just like going off on whatever tangent that might entertain me at the moment. And I say things that might be controversial to some, and I know that you're very likely going to disagree with some of what I say, no matter who you are. But that's the magic of it, It's just, we all have our own views. We're all our own people. It was something not even planned. I just sort of spontaneously felt like talking about certain things and just went with where the topic took me. And I did that on both videos, and I'll probably continue to do that on other videos. I already have several more places I want to visit for hiking vlogs, because I really do like taking this thing out of the basement and out into the world, because this is really dismal. Like, there's bad lighting, it makes my face look all melty and stuff. It's just like, I hate being down here. So getting out there, being in the world, is just much better. Makes for better videos, makes for a happier me, and it just makes for just all around more interesting content. So, yeah, that is what I have planned. And yeah, I do still intend to talk about my dad, and that will be coming soon, but not before, at the very least, these first 2 hiking vlogs, if not more. So, once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.